Well, Ripcaster, my name's John Nelson. We're a hi-fi DLA based in Reading and Oxford in the UK. Today's video is going to be all about going active with Kudos loudspeakers. Got a pair of Kudos Titan 707s here. These are a two-way speaker, and behind me we've got a pair of Titan 808 speakers. There's 505s and 606s also available in the same range. And to make them go active, we're going to use this, the new Sigao Drive from Kudos. Historically, if we wanted to go active with these systems, we'd be looking at Lin Exact systems, named Snaxo or Exposure, who have dedicated electronics to drive these speakers actively. But now Kudos have made their own product, which will drive these Titan series speakers actively. Before we go into looking at this any further, let's just have a look at what going active with your speakers actually means. Okay, so to illustrate the point, we've gone full Blue Peter mode, just to illustrate what a passive crossover in a conventional loudspeaker looks like. All the loudspeakers that you will typically come across will have internally within the physical cabinet will have a crossover, which is a PCB that looks a little bit like this. It's got a few components. This is an older one. And in true Blue Peter style, we've lashed this up, so don't look in too many details at what we've done here. On the back are our speaker terminals, and so we would typically take the speaker cables from our power amp, plug those into the back, and it would then go and power each of the drive units. So in this instance, it's a three-way crossover. So we've got our bass driver, our mid driver, and our tweeter. So we've got one signal coming in from our amplifier here, goes into the crossover, and in true Blue Peter style, one of them's fallen off, but let's just pretend that's still attached, like so. So I've got our full signal coming into our crossover, and that is then split into a high frequency signal that feeds the tweeter, mid-band for the mid, and a bass response for a bass signal for the bass driver. What going active means is basically replacing this crossover, which sits after the amplifier, and putting the filter, the cross that splits the signal into high, mid, and low frequency, putting that either in the amplification or in the case of Sigao Drive before the amplification. So we take our source from our pre-amplifier or streaming pre-amplifier, whatever it might be, into the Sigao Drive, which then splits it into two ways for the 505, 606s and 707s, or three ways for the 808s, directly to drive the speakers directly without using the internal crossover. One of the great things about the way Kudos design their speakers is they work fantastically as passive systems. They work even better if you make them active, and they've got a very smart way of designing the way you can switch to using them in an active mode. So if I just turn this 707 round, we can look at the rear panel and we can see how you easily move it from a passive mode to an active mode. So if we look at the rear of the Kudos speaker here, this is currently in passive mode, and so if we were going to drive this from a conventional passive amplifier, we would just plug our speaker cables directly in here from a single stereo power amplifier. If I want to drive them actively, I just remove these linking connectors. So now I've removed the links, we can now drive this speaker actively. So we're bypassing the crossover in here and driving the speakers directly in the unit. So in this case we now need, because it's a two-way speaker, we now need 2 channels of amplification, like so. To demonstrate the actual configuration that we've got here, and also to illustrate that we're not tied to one manufacturer's equipment, so we're using a Moon streaming preamp, a 390 streaming preamp. We've got the Kudos Sigao Drive here, and then we've got 2 Ultrafide stereo power amps. Now, the Sigao Drive is supplied with plugs which allow us to match the crossover to the speaker that we're using. You also need to match the impedance of the amplifiers, and these are supplied when you purchase the item to match your amps. And so let's just get this configured. So we have got Titan 707s, so we need the Titan 707s matching plugs. So this one is for the treble, so we'll plug that in here in the crossover section with the bass in here. So that's got our crossovers matched for the treble on the 707 and the bass on the 707. Next we need to match the impedance of the amplifiers, the Ultrafide amplifiers that we're using in this instance, and that 2. So that's our crossover is now matched to both our amplifiers to match the impedance and also the crossovers that we've got in the speaker. So we'll do one channel. So we'll take the analog output out of our streaming preamplifier in this instance, so it's the right channel, and we're going to put that into the input, the right input into the Sigao Drive, and then we will take the right mid output of the Sigao Drive into our right input on our bass amplifier, and we'll take our speaker cable from the right speaker and plug that into our right channel amplifier output. Similarly, we'll take our treble right output, we'll feed that to the right input on our power amplifier, and we'll feed our speaker like so. So there we have it. That is how you would have a typical configuration with the Sigao Drive. You match the filters on the speakers, you match the impedance of the amplifiers, and you connect your preamplifier output to the input here, and then we feed these. So these signals will be carrying, in this instance, a mid and bass signal only, and this one will be carrying a treble frequency only to drive the treble driver. So here you can see the back of the Sigao Drive. No mains input, so it's totally silent from an electrical noise point of view. We've got the inputs there on the left hand side as you look at that, and then you've got the outputs for each of the speakers, 505, 606s, 707s and 808s, and the matching filter plugs and the matching amplifier plugs. And as we spin round, you will see coming into view now are the actual matching plugs. So these, the first set are for matching the impedance on different amplifier brands, and these can be made to whatever your amplifier is. So we've got matching impedance plugs here for Lin, for Moon, for Name and for Ultrafide, the ones that we used in the demonstration. And then we've also got the actual matching filter plugs for the different Kudos speakers. So we've got 808s, 707s and 606s, all the plugs that we need for those speakers. So a very flexible solution, match any amplifier with any Titan speaker. Okay, I hope you found that interesting, A quick look at the new Sigao Drive from Kudos. A fantastic way to improve the performance of your Kudos speakers by going active, by bypassing the inefficiencies in the internal passive crossover and driving the drivers actively with external amplification. The beauty of the Sigao Drive is you can use it with anybody's electronics, both as a source and also anybody's amplification. I welcome you to come and visit Ripcaster so you can see and hear Kudos active systems for yourself. Thanks for watching.